Welcome, welcome. Hello, beautiful Lisa. Hey, all. Welcome to the podcast recording, the Mystic Bitch Show. Once again, today we have the fabulous and amazing Lisa Greenfield here, who I have been dying to introduce you to since I recorded season 1, episode 1 of the Mystic Bitch Show podcast, where I can't talk about my spiritual awakening without talking about Lisa, right? So the Mystic Bitch Show, if you're new here, if you're just jumping on, it is all about spirituality, psychic development, psychic awakening, manifesting, all those super yummy things that we like to talk about and we're all really into. We explore those topics in depth. This segment is called Mystics in the Wild, where I tap my very long roster of amazing humans, mystics, healers, seers, creatives, psychics, and bringing them on one by one to connect them with you and to share their story and their gifts so we can all really get this incredible picture of what's out there, the gifts, the uniqueness, the integrity, what's out there. If you're listening in, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know you're here because I can't see you unless you tell me. And Lisa and I both want to give you a really, really warm welcome. So once again, if you're new, my name is Ingrid H. Turner. I am your humble host. I am a psychic medium. I'm a psychic development teacher, all around mystic bitch. I'm here to work with a very specific type of human. If you are a misfit, a creative, you resonate with the terms like the black sheep of your family, you never quite felt like you fit in or found your place in this world, I'm your girl. I'm here to help exalt you and put you on your world stage so you can reach an audience as big as you can handle through learning how to trust yourself and love yourself and tap into your intuitive gifts so you never again have to give your power away to an outside authority. And everyone who I connect with, we're on the same page, including our beautiful, fabulous, and amazing Lisa Greenfield over here. Lisa, I'm going to have you talk about yourself and tell your story a little bit because everything about you I find amazing and glorious and light and wonderful. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about my connection with you and how we came to be. I actually met you when I was still more in the muggle world. Okay. I met you when I first moved to Los Angeles, which would be 10 years ago now. And I remember so clearly the first time that I met you, you were striking to me and I knew we were going to be besties and we were going to be friends. I wanted to be your friend. And you were already in this world for a while. You already had your business established as a celebrity hand analyst, and you do tarot cards, you do astrology. There's not much that you tap into that you don't become a master at, is what I've discovered about you over the last 10 years. And you were really the one that introduced me to the possibility that this world was open to me, not just to look at, but to facilitate and be a part of. And I'm always going to be grateful to you for that because I didn't know. I remember sitting in your living room talking about being psychic. And I was asking you questions about how you were psychic, how it worked for you. And you just looked at me and said, well, you are too. And I went, what? No, I'm not. But there it was. And then I can't talk about my spiritual awakening experience without mentioning you. And if anybody's interested in that, go to episode 1, season 1 of the Mystic Bitch Show, where I talk about that whole experience. It was all because, Lisa, you opened the door for me. And then you were the person, the pivotal person in my life who walked through that immensely powerful, intense, and beautiful experience. And you are just so, so precious to me. And I'm so happy that you're here. And thank you for jumping on and being a part of this and sharing your gifts once again with me, with the world. So let me bounce it over to you. Lisa, welcome to the Mystic Bitch Show. Please tell us in your own words a little bit more about you, where you came from, what you're doing here.
I will get
like
to
in
that
the world.
I will. I promise I'll try and answer those several requests, but I just want to mention something right now, that what I saw all those years ago is the reason why all of you are tuned in watching Ingrid today. So she's here teaching you to trust your intuition, because who knows which Ingrid you're going to be sitting in front of that needs you to see them the way that I just saw Ingrid. Okay. Think of how big the ripples get when we do that for each other, when we trust what we see, say it with love, and we let the other person show up, and our intuition sees more than just the lived experience. And it's like our mind wants to go to the lived experience. It's this, well, I saw you in the corporate world. I saw you as the mom to a young boy. You had all of these labels, but you were this intuitive, fiery, bright light. and that was there too. And look at how far that road has traveled just because our
Mm.
is fire and requires fuel. Fuel is praise, applause, recognition, and respect. I just recognized you, respected you, and applauded you for what was real. And that is respect. Okay. So,
Yes. Yeah.
yes, I just love that we're doing this full circle.
Me too. And that is a really brilliant segue into what we want to really talk about today, which is how you mentioned it with the fire and the elements, and we're starting to dive into the work that you do with people to help them understand what their purpose is in this life. And so many people feel a yearning to understand more deeply, what the hell am I doing here? And you have this incredible system, and I have been through this system, and we're going to talk about this, and it's mind-blowing, where you really help people understand who they are on a fundamental, like, cellular level. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Sure. Absolutely. Because one of the things that intuition is fire. Now, can you draw a line around fire? I don't know about you, but it kind of leaps and flares up, and it's like I haven't found it to be static. I haven't been able to quantify fire exactly. It just is what it is, right? And
Mhm.
as such, it's that spark, it's that, the gift of the gods that lights up each one of us. And yet it requires tending. And it's in all of us. It's not just in one of us. It shows up in different ways. We all come standard with our body, our mind, our hearts, and our intuition. The intuition is that spark that gets us to step outside of our comfort zone. Okay.
Mhm.
It's the part that, like Christopher Columbus, when everybody was going right to get to the East Indies, he said, what if we go left? Okay. So this is about knowing how to work with that spark that expands us and lights fires in other people, lights them up, warms them,
Mhm.
inspires, okay, and using it in a way that isn't a blowtorch. You'd rather be a bonfire, right? It's like that's what everyone wants to pull up a chair to, as opposed to a blowtorch, which the misuse of power. And so often what I've come across, and I spent, almost 3 decades in the corporate world. And
Yeah.
most of the problems that we see in this world come from people who don't know their own power.
Ooh, talk more about that, because that's a very big topic that I try and tackle often, and I wanna hear more. People who don't know their own power, what does that look like? What are the symptoms of that, and how can people start to find their way back from that?
Oh, absolutely. Because that's my mission, is
Mhm.
to help people get in touch with where their true gifts are, because we all come with them. And that's what I absolutely love is you cannot escape your gifts. You can either play it small with them, which is fine, or you can dial it up based on your, I would say, body and system ecology.
Mhm.
For some people, there's trauma, and you want to make it safe to go beyond. In trauma, you are helpless or hopeless. And
Yeah.
it's rare to find somebody who escaped childhood without some trauma.
No, it's so true. We're all messed up.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I give so much credit to kids who are coming of age in the world of a pandemic. It's like, this is
Ooh,
not an easy world to be coming of age. So talk about courage of spirit.
yeah.
Your identity is forming in basically a cauldron. So what matters is what the inside story is. How do you interpret whatever is happening? And it's like, it's okay if you get triggered. But when you get triggered, most people, that misuse of power comes when they feel emotionally like that child that was traumatized, and they overcorrect
Mhm.
because they've got the tools and the ability and the resources of an adult. I call it shooting flies with cannonballs. You may take care of the pest, but you're going to have a lot of collateral damage too. So it's just like, I don't know that that worked well.
Right, 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 right.
And I'm sure there, people who are watching or listening, that what happens. It's like somebody says something, it reminds you, it's spring loaded into, multiple incidents where you felt disrespected or unseen or unappreciated. And all of a sudden, boom, it's like
Yeah.
you're demanding that they pay $100 fine for a $5 crime,
Right.
where you aren't comfortable internally. You need to be able to self-regulate, but in order to do that, most often pain needs a witness. And
Mm-hmm.
in the absence of a safe witness outside of you, you need to be a witness for your own pain. Okay.
Yeah.
You need to be able to look at whatever is hurting and care that something is hurting and say, I'm sorry that you're hurting. That's not okay. What do you feel and what do you need? Do you feel threatened? Do you feel alone? Do you feel, really do a checklist, go through what is it that you feel and what does that feeling need? And work on giving that to yourself, or at least putting yourself in better space to get it before, it's like withdrawing from whatever conflict is before
Yeah.
you
It,
engage.
yeah. I love that you're bringing this up today as we're talking about this. This just happened to me today.
Mm.
Somebody I love used a word, and I did not know this word was a trigger word for me, but I do now. They use this word, and I found myself incredibly triggered. And it took me pulling all of my tools and many of them I've learned from you and my resources together to allow the pain and the hurt, but
Mhm.
also to stay in recognition that it's probably not like what I think, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not
Yeah.
personal. It's just pain. It's just an experience. So it's perfect that for me anyway, that you're talking about that. And I've also witnessed you take yourself through that process over and over again. And all of us, when we allow ourselves to use those tools and to move through that trigger, we come out the other side. When we can hold that space for ourselves and come out the other side, we come out the other side without so much charge around that little kernel of trauma. So next time it shows up, sometimes we don't get triggered at all, or if we do, it's much, much more manageable. But
Mhm.
we have to, in my experience, I have to resist the urge. Resist is not a great word, but I have to hold
Manage.
firm, manage
Mhm.
the urge to
Mhm.
unleash my fury on
Yeah.
whatever it is, or whoever the poor soul is that used the wrong word in the wrong tone or said the wrong thing, and bring that down. But I've noticed that when I do that, I my triggers are around something that I identify with. And when I can
Mhm.
release that identity bit by bit, I become so much more free, and I
Yeah.
prize freedom. So to me, it feels like very valuable work.
I love that you said that because that is so key. When you are liberated from your history, you can access
Yeah.
all of the power that you have in this moment to respond to whatever the
Boom.
situation, and
And
it's
that
like,
brings
oh,
us full circle to how do we make our way back to our power?
I'm going to start with the breath of love. You remember that little
Let's do
ditty,
the
right?
breath of love. Take us
Okay.
through it. Yes.
Because I just think this is so important. It's a simple, handy tool because you're breathing already. So we're going to teach you a quick little hack that when you get triggered, you're destabilized. Your limbic system goes offline. It's just like, whoop, reason has left the building. All right. It's
Yeah.
your survival brain. Your survival brain kicks in and it's just like fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And it's like, okay, what are the symptoms? It's like, all right, I work on getting to know what are my symptoms. All of a sudden, if I'm a dissociated or I feel like I'm telescoping, it's like I'm looking at things from way back, something like that. It's like, oh, I'm triggered. All right, here's a simple breathing hack that can help bring your brain back online, and you can do it anywhere. It's free, it's legal, it's portable, and there's no calories. So use it at will. It's a three-step
Stop yourself.
process. What letter does that look like?
W.
Thank you. Every once in a while, somebody will say E, and I'm going, ooh, you have an interesting view of the
Right.
world.
Your brain's fun.
Step one, I think of your lungs like a washcloth. Think of that W. I want you to think of your lungs like a washcloth. And what do you do with a washcloth? Wring it
Mhm.
out. Because our brainstem, the survival part of our brain, is 2 seconds faster than the frontal lobe or the limbic system, and it's going to pant or breathe air in. That's that survival instinct. So that step one, we got to flip the switch and we got to bring the frontal lobe back in charge so that your survivor instinct is not making the decisions for you. Okay, we don't want the survivor, making those big strategic decisions. This is not life or death. So step one, wringing your lungs out. And I don't just mean I mean wringing your lungs out. Flipping the switch is really pushing all the air out. Your frontal lobe is telling your brainstem, this is not life or death. We're emptying our lungs. Okay. And then step two, we're not going to leave you there with your poor lungs all wrung out. Step two, we're going to take a nice deep inhale in, but very slow. And I want you to repeat the words in your mind. I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe. All the time you're inhaling, like say a 5, a nice slow 5 count of I'm safe. And this is because your brainstem really only cares about risk and reward. All right. So the more you can reassure, if you don't reassure the risk, the reward isn't going to matter. So it's like, okay, first we flip the switch. We've got the frontal lobe in charge, but now it's like the frontal lobe adult is reassuring the brainstem, which is the child, I'm safe. Okay. So I can make a decision from the place of knowing I'm safe. That nice slow inhale, I'm safe. Last step, one more gentle exhale. You're not wringing your lungs out this time. And maybe go for a 7 count, a little bit longer than you were inhaling, because once again, it signals your sympathetic nervous system to relax. Okay. And it's like, I'm loved, I'm loved, I'm loved, I'm loved. And one of the most loving things you can do is breathe. Okay. You're taking care, you're putting your focus on you. And
Yeah.
every time you think, feel, and act on something in a new way, you actually carve out a new neural pathway that is the adult in you connecting with the frightened child and soothing it. And that's the best gym you'll ever go to, because every time you strengthen that, it builds resilience instead of a brittleness that's so common today in this changing, chaotic, sometimes frightening or overwhelming world. So,
Right. And this really is bringing to mind the incredible connection of the mind, body, and emotions. There's no dealing with just one of them. You got to bring them all together and nurture and nourish them all, bring them all into alignment to find that place of clarity, to be able to move through. I just call it bullshit, and we all got it. Like we all got it. We all just got stuff piled up in us. So that I really love that very, very simple technique. Thank you for that. Let's switch
absolutely.
gears
And
a little bit.
yeah,
Go
can
ahead.
I
We're not switching
one
gears
more
yet. Tell me. Yes.
1 second. Our mind, because when we go to that, our mind is a separator. That's its natural. It pulls back to give us
Oh,
the
yeah.
10,000 view. And very often it's the black and white. It's day, it's not night. It's hot, not cold. So this is why you want to make sure you're pulling from more than just your mind, because more often than not, your mind will separate you from what it perceives as a threat, but it's saving you from one kind of pain only to cause you another. Your mind is not meant to make the decisions. Your mind is meant to enhance and, engage with the decisions that you've made.
Right.
Okay.
I always see the mind as a glorified filing system. It's very sort of black and white and putting things into categories. Doesn't really do nuance. It doesn't do the colors and the grays and the tones. And you want to lead with your heart and your intuition and then execute with your mind, because the mind is really good at that administrative. Heart says, I want to go here, and the mind says, okay, here's how we're going to do it. Like,
Exactly. Our intuition is meant to go first because
yeah.
that's the place that senses something beyond the known. It's like there's something around this corner over here. I don't know what it is. I've never been there. I can't see there, but I'm really feeling the pull,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
direction. Then you pay attention to, boy, I really want to know. I care about what's around that corner, not just the sense that there's something around that corner, but I want to be there.
Yeah.
Then you're right. The mind is third. How do I take the next best step to get around that corner? And
Yeah.
the body is finally, the last, it's the one.
Okay, I'm going.
Exactly. It's like, okay, but the mind is a servant, not
Yes.
master.
Totally.
No.
Yeah. And we're so conditioned the other way. Everybody says to you, think it through, make a pros and cons list, reason it out. But when you're making decisions, if we can disconnect from that really strong, oh, hey, kitty, that's strong, strong conditioning, um, and reverse that to lead with the intuition,
Yeah.
that's a game changer. I mean, that revolutionizes your life.
It does. And the important thing to remember is that our mind will go by logic, which is black and white and sorting things out. And,
Yeah.
and it's going by an already existing map. But if you are going to a place that you've never been before, somebody else's map of what they did isn't going to get you where you're supposed to.
Oh,
And that's
yeah.
their logic may be perfect for them, but it's not going to help you map your edges, your boundaries, or go where you're meant to go.
Yeah. And I think that's why it is so important to learn to trust yourself.
Yeah.
Tap into your intuition, know what it feels like,
Mhm.
know the difference between your fear brain and your intuitive heart, and then stop giving your power away to an authority. They don't know. We are so trained to do that. And
We can even use that because I don't think there's any accidents. Nature has got more going, as far as us being conditioned to respond to authority, and then the rebels who don't like authority. Well, whether you're listening to an authority or not listening to an authority, make sure you're doing it from a place of, oh, sometimes it helps to contrast. It's like, well, the authority says do this. Yeah, but I'm not finding the resonance here in my body.
mhm.
It doesn't have to be an angry shove back. It's like, in fact,
No.
that usually to me is a sign that it's like, you might want to investigate a little bit more.
Right, right. You got trigger, honey. You got trigger. Absolutely. I mean, and I think that getting feedback from people who have been there, from authority figures, is really valuable, but then putting it through the filter of your own intuition,
Mhm.
take the pieces that work for you and then discard the rest. Whereas what I'm talking about, when you give your power away to somebody, you surrender your intuitive filter or your even your heart's desire, and just say, okay, well, you said I can't do that, even though I feel like I can do that, like I really want that, my heart is being pulled. You said I can't, so I can't. I've decided I agree with you and I can't, which I think is a different energy than,
Mhm.
oh, okay. Bring in the feedback. Like I was thinking, I was with my son yesterday or 2 days ago, and I'm teaching him how to drive, and so I let him drive my car. We're on mountain roads, so and we're driving where there's a bunch of snow because we're pretty high up in the mountains, and he sees a straightaway, and he's 17. He goes, "Oh, I'm gonna like floor it," and I'm like, "Please don't," and he does. I said, "Seriously, Turner, you need to slow down." Because where there's snow, there's going to be black ice and you won't be able to see it. And he's like, yeah, yeah. And then he comes on, like, he sees it. He sees some ice and some snow on the road. And he slows down and goes, oh. Oh, you're okay.
Huh?
It was a pretty funny little interaction.
I
But
love
I watch him nowadays, and I really like the way he's doing this. So my son doesn't like authority. He's never liked authority. To earn his respect, like, you really have to work for it. And he's been that way since he was born. It's just an ingrained part of who he is. But nowadays I watch him when he's decided he can respect somebody, he will listen to what they have to say, and you can see him listening, taking it in, integrating it, Some things you can see him going, maybe. Some things you can go, oh, that makes sense. And some things you can see him go, meh. But he's now at an age where he's not like, going nuclear on an authority figure that he disagrees with. So that's nice.
And I love that he's trying it on.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but it's worth for all of us right now, we're in uncharted territory. Okay. Mm-hmm. As a globe, we're in uncharted territory, and there's a lot of potential here for creation. But creation takes a amount of being able to check in with yourself and see, is this the best next step for me? Mm-hmm. And really work on holding results open-handed. It's not that you don't want particular results, but you may get more than what you bargained for. And so it's like, can you feel into it? Can you try something new? Where's your sense of self as far as risk taking?
Yeah.
And we've got Saturn going into Pisces for the next almost 3 years.
You want to talk about that a little bit? Kind of let people know what that means?
Yes, because Saturn is the planet of wisdom through limitations and restrictions. Mm-hmm. Where it comes in Pisces, in astrology, that Pisces rules the 12th house, and it's known as the joy of Saturn. So what that means is this is actually a place where you may not get the results you want. In fact, I can almost guarantee you that if you can map out something intellectually, plan on it not turning out the way you want when Saturn is in Pisces, because you're meant to connect. Water is a conductor. And it's that emotional flow with all of us. It needs to benefit you and the collective.
Yeah.
Okay. So the universe is going to take those goals and those dreams and those individual desires and plug them into a bigger grid, because there's more available to us than just our individual satisfaction. But if all you're interested in is your individual satisfaction, the next almost 3 years is going to be bumpy, because Saturn in Pisces is not about me over thee. It's power with as opposed to power over. Yeah. And so the good news on that is it actually helps hold all of our conductivity, because fire is our inspiration, that sense beyond our lived experience. But water is what literally maps out the frequency and then magnetizes things to us. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's with Saturn there, it's like you can learn how to magnetize more of what you desire and less of what you don't when it serves both you and the collective.
Gotcha. We're entering a really a time, it feels like, when we're going to be really needing to build our altruism muscles.
Yes.
You need to look beyond individuality and look to community and the health of the community and the collective. Good old Saturn.
Yep.
Yeah, me and Saturn.
I really, again, it's less about material success, which we've had, mm-hmm. long periods of success. And we've got this polarity between the haves and the have-nots that happens, systematically it's almost a Uranian cycle, 84 to 100 years kind of thing.
Right.
And we're at that extreme again. Saturn in Pisces is more about, water, water seeks the level. So it's like, okay, it's the great leveler. Yeah. It's the place that erodes the barriers between us. But this is also where you need to have an internal system to manage your emotional flow.
Mm-hmm. Right? That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
It takes roughly 10 minutes for our emotions. And there's the molecules of emotion. Dr. Candace Pert wrote a book on it. She was one of the ones that discovered our molecules. Our emotions actually have a molecular structure.
Oh my God.
Roughly 10 minutes for an emotional wave to travel our body. So when you were talking about managing, your impulses, it's like when you can put, you find yourself triggered, you find yourself in an emotion, put 10 minutes on the clock, you're providing the structure, the
Oh,
beginning, the middle, and the end.
yes.
You're
Give
providing
yourself
the
the container. I'm gonna have this for 10 minutes. I'm
Mhm.
just gonna throw a fit for 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
I put my shoulder out because it's like I had some anger coming up, and it's like I'm beating the couch with the noodle. It's like, let's get both the dust and the anger out.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like 10 minutes worth, then it's not backing up on you.
Yeah.
Because when it's backing up on you, this is where we tend to get sick.
Yeah,
Because
that's
not giving our
Mhm.
emotions flow. What were you gonna say?
Yep. No, that's the stuck energy in the body right there. We have to get that out. And the way that we get that out is through feeling our damn feelings. And the thing that I think is really important for people to understand is when we go through a traumatic experience, and you can't compare traumas because people have different levels of sensitivities. There are some things one person will just shrug off and move on with their life, and it was another person will just really deeply internalize it and it will hurt them very deeply. So you can't compare traumas. But when you have that stuck energy in the body, it doesn't go away. That emotional experience doesn't go away. It's something that has to be, if you want to live that full and free life and step fully into your power, like we've been talking about, you
Yeah.
have to let yourself be present for that few minutes with that emotion, and then it will clear.
Yeah.
And so every time it comes up, and that's the gift of the triggers. The trigger isn't what you're feeling, isn't about the thing. It's got nothing to do with the thing. It's about stuck energy, old wounds, old traumas. If you give that the time of day, it removes permanently from your body, and then you're free of it.
Yeah. Then
That's powerful.
then you can feel what's appropriate to the moment,
Yes.
in the
Clarity,
sign
baby.
that it's like, okay, now we've got more of a match between whatever's going on and my response to it.
Yeah.
Because it's not
Yes.
picking up this historical backwater of emotion.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about your work with as a hand analyst, a celebrity hand analyst, because you have an impressive background in even within the intuitive realm, the psychic healing realm. First of all, how long have you been doing this now as a full-time professional gig? And tell us a little bit more about what it means when you're doing the hand analysis, and then what to talk about the life purpose stuff as well. I want to dig into that a little bit
Oh,
more.
sure, because I always love to talk about your life
Yeah.
purpose too.
Oh, we're gonna talk about my life purpose too. I forgot about that. Okay, this is good for
Yeah.
people to get a good idea, like a really solid understanding of what Lisa does. And then if you really want to learn more about this and find out your own gifts, challenges, and lessons, your life purpose, Lisa has a very special offer for us, and it is linked below. It is a do-it-yourself life purpose guide. It will take you through this whole process to show you how this all applies to you, and it's in your hands. But okay, Lisa,
Thank you.
tell us.
All right, I absolutely love this, and don't mind me, I've got cat fur flying. My
No
boy,
worries. The cat was getting very lovey-dovey with you.
he's a Leo, he loves to be on camera. So, yes, but as far as we come in about 12 to 14 weeks old in our mother's stomach, our fingerprints are formed. Okay. So, based on what's going on with your parents, and I will very often be able to look at, your prints and be able to say, your mom was kind of in survival mode, but your dad was doing great. And it's like, yeah, he just had a promotion. He was traveling all over the place, and she was home alone with my two brothers and, pregnant with me. So it's like, yeah, not surprised. And they're going, you can see that in my fingerprints? It's like, yes, because that code in your fingerprints is part of what your design is. You chose I believe you choose the family that you're born into, not necessarily the trauma that goes with that family.
Are you sure?
But you know what? I don't think we would ever say yes on the surface to the trauma that happens to us. I think we say yes to the soul lesson.
Right, to the gold underneath it.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
okay. And so it kind of it helps, again, back to purpose. You came here with a sweet spot, which is your life purpose. And again, you can't escape it. You are going to live your life purpose no matter what. And after it's been 16 years, 17 years of doing this full time now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, something
Oh,
like that. I'm telling you, it consistently shows up when we identify somebody's life purpose. They're going, I was doing that in grade school. And it's like, exactly. Exactly.
Amazing. Amazing.
You can't, this is your gift. And it has to do with whether you are a physical manifester of the body, which is our arches, whether you are a
Now you're talking about
mind.
the fingerprint, the shape of the fingerprints when we're talking about this.
But
Okay.
this can correlate with astrology. This can
Yeah.
correlate with where your heart line winds up in your hand.
And probably human design too, huh?
Yes, and not only that, but the four elements: body, heart, mind, spirit, earth, air, fire, water. Our DNA is four elements.
Yeah.
It's literally four elements and in different combinations. So it's just interesting. But if you're here to be a manifester, more of a manifester in the body, this is kind of like those little generators in human design. You're going to come in potentially with those arches, just the gentle arch. If you then go to, oh, but your mind is going to get in on it and pull up and do the, instead of boots on the ground, you're going to do more of the air traffic controller. Then you've got the air element in your prints as your highest ranking print. Then, interestingly enough, over 60% of the population have loops as their primary destiny marker. And that is mastering love and closeness. Mastering the world of emotions. Welcome to the deep sea, right?
Oh, Pisces, here we are.
Saturn in Pisces. And then if you are here to be that visionary leader, this is a smaller percentage because, of course, we don't need half the population as visionary leaders.
Oh my God, there'd be a lot of headbutting.
Exactly. It's just like, a mad scramble. So it's like the smallest percentage of the visionary leaders. And each one comes with its absolute genius, and each one comes with its shadow.
Sure. Real quick, going to pause you real quick. I want to make sure everybody understands what we're talking about here. These are shapes that are on your fingerprints. And Lisa this is a system Lisa uses to help you identify what your greatest gift is, where your shadow is, so where you get bit on the Achilles heel, and also like what our lessons are, what we're here to really learn and master. And these are found in the DIY Life Purpose Guide. This guide takes you through with pictures to help you identify the types of prints you have and what that means for you. Regularly $199. She's giving it to us for $49 because she loves us Mystic Bitches. So grab it linked below. And Lisa, go ahead and continue.
Thank you for that. Yes, because Mercury in Pisces, I'm flowing with the feeling here. So thanks for the details.
Taurus, I got you.
Yeah. But the thing is, those prints are one of the most unique identifying features about you. Your fingerprints are. And those four basic types, there's also a couple of combinations where, you got halfway, between one and the other. So that's in there as well. And then you're pulling from both elements. But you carry those prints your entire life. They
never change.
No, everything else in your hand, including the shape, changes.
The shape.
Yes, even the shape. As you think, feel, and act on things in new ways.
Wow.
You're
rewiring and it's showing up in your hands. That is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Mind-body connection, but not your prints. Prints you're stuck with.
Fingerprints that you don't want to trade those in because those are your genius, your zone of genius. Your blind spot, which is your, that school, and then that life lesson. And then your school is how you navigate from the blind spot back into the sweet spot.
Okay. So you got your genius and your lesson. And in the middle, you got the
navigation.
Navigation. Exactly. So going, no. Okay. Got it. That's how I'm visualizing it in my head.
Because everybody has their blind spot. That's our life lesson.
Yeah, we do.
To identify our blind spot and then start working our way out of it. It's like, okay. And so one of the things that you can take a bite out of in the do-it-yourself guide is you can at least get some visuals on what's your sweet spot, what's more likely your blind spot. And by the way, the fingers, think about it. You've got 4 main prints and 3 combinations. So that's 7. And you've got 10 fingers. I had a mathematician because I said, oh, that's over 2 million combinations. And he goes, no, actually it's 3.5 million. I'm going, oh, I stand corrected.
People and their numbers.
That's how unique you are.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this is something that is very personal to you, and then how you work with it based on everything in your hand too. Again, where are you using your intuition? Where are you using your emotions? Because think about it, our emotions have the ability, water can wear down a rock.
Given enough time.
Exactly. Where are you using that mind, that big picture that's the servant, not the master? And then where are you physically interacting in a way that is expressing yourself? So
Yeah.
you've got a genius and you've got a blind spot and you've got the tools to navigate between them. And interestingly enough, in case any of you are curious about our little Mystic Bitch podcast here,
Lay it on me. What do you got? Lay it on us.
one of the ones
What are they listening to here?
I was just going, wowza, because she had, normally people have a couple of different fire, if they come in with a fire signature. Some of my really heavy hitting clients will come in with one or two. They're like bullseyes. We call them whorls, that's a signifier, that visionary leader. Ingrid came in with, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 mixes. So that makes 2 halves, 6. 6 out of 10 fingers are fine. So was she destined to be
Don't get me near any air, okay?
Was she destined to be a bright light in front of everybody? Yes. So it's like, okay, I don't know why I'm the lucky one that she listened to when I saw her, but it was not hard to spot. 6 fire, signatures. It's just like, whoa, So yes.
I'm like it hot.
Yes, exactly. But the challenge with fire is, when that's in your destiny, is that's a lot of power and it's learning to use it wisely. And part of that is knowing that fire burns through fuel. So you are going to change communities, careers, ways of expressing yourself continuously, because it's not static.
Yeah, no, I definitely relate to that constant shifting and cycling of experiences. And like you say, communities and people, it's like people show up and then it's like waves. It's kind of amazing. There are a few people in my sphere who I call lifers.
Yeah.
And there's not very many of them. You are one of them. My best friend Zach has been around for over 20 years. He is my longest running friend. And then, my family. But there are very, very few people who stick around like for a really long time. And that's not to say that people are running away from me or anything. It's just a natural cycle and flow is what it feels like to me, which feels great. But I very much cherish the humans and who are solid, who's like, oh, well, right, you're not going anywhere. We're in this together. So
yeah.
And then that probably explains my drive to travel and change location a lot. I tend to get very sticky stuck. I get very unmotivated when I'm in one place for too long. Even like my laptop, if I'm in one place, I'll want to take it, go work at a coffee shop one day, and then go just shake it up and move it around.
Absolutely. And it's natural. That is your natural state. And very often you'll find that this is where you, again, the people who are dealing with a lot of fire in their hands or in their destiny or in their chart, they can get a lot of judgment from other people. And it's like, you're just being you.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the same thing where water can take, it's a long time to release something. My water peeps can take a while to let go of a relationship, even when they.
Now you have a lot of water in your, if I remember correctly, if you don't mind talking about that a little bit and what that looks and feels like, because you said that's 60% of the population, so probably a lot of people will relate to that.
Yeah, I have 8 out of 10 of mine are water and 2 are fire. So I'm a fire and water girl.
Steamy.
Exactly. Steam engine, right? So yes, but again, water can know that something is done. The mind can recognize that it's like, oh, this isn't going to go the distance. But water still needs to take the time, like the tide going out. The wave may still come in and roll back, but it's only over time that each time it comes in a little less and goes out a little further. And so
Yeah.
there's that place and space in you that requires time to know whether the tide is coming in on something or whether the tide is going out on something. Quick decisions is your mind trying to impose somebody else's should
Mm,
or emotions.
right. So that reminds me of something my mom said to me when I was young, and I've always thought this is one of the best sort of pieces of advice she gave me. I was having relationship woes as we do. And she goes, and I was kind of waffling back and forth about whether I was going to stay in this relationship. And she said, you're not done till you're done. You're just not done till you're done in
Yeah.
relationship. And I think that relates to this water discussion that we're talking about. You got to
Mhm.
trust the feeling,
Mhm.
the inner knowing as opposed to the intellectual. Well, this clearly isn't working out, but maybe there's a reason you're not making a move yet. Because water's
Yeah.
intuition as well, right? Yeah.
It is, it's the receptive intuitive, whereas the
Mm,
fire is the instinctive active. Okay.
gotcha.
So, if you will, I
Gotcha.
mean, it's not purely that simple, but it comes down to
Mhm.
fire tends to be more of an activated. It's like the information comes in and you just have an instinctive way of acting on it, whereas
Mhm.
water is the conductive. This is where it takes time to sort out. You can't draw lines on water, so you can receive a lot of
Right.
information, and you have to be able to hold your shape, manage your inner container.
Mhm.
You're not swimming in everybody else's information and not clear on what
Yeah.
exactly is yours. Yeah.
Right. Right,
And
right,
that's
right.
they're finding out now. I mean, it's just extraordinary. Um, as far as water and there's a fourth state, I guess, of water. It's not just solid, liquid, and gas. There's a fourth state that the molecular structure between liquid and gas, where it's very interesting. I'll see if I can find the link and share it if enough people are interested. But it's like they're finding out more and more and more what they didn't know about water. And water takes
Wow.
the shape of a container. So you need to be very
Yeah.
mindful of what are the containers that you've chosen, because some of that was mapped out for you as a familiarity growing up, but you as an adult
Mhm.
get to choose. And sometimes our default, our brainstem will choose what's familiar, even if it's uncomfortable. And it takes an
Mhm.
active letting the tide go out on that and letting the fill up with something that is more beneficial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And is it am I so we're talking about in our fingertips, especially like in our prints, that's where you find your life purpose. Life
Right.
purpose and your DIY guy is going to take you through here's what the prints look like, here's how you identify them, here's what they mean for you. But each of these elements that we're talking about that are found in our fingerprints are also found in the palms of our hands generally in some area. Do we all embody all of these sort of water elements and fire elements in some areas? So there's going to be areas of our life where this shows up more prominently for us. So even if it's not prominent in your fingerprints, it'll show up in other areas.
Absolutely. And what's interesting about it too is the fingers that it shows up on. Let's just take a moment. One of all right, we've got the outer finger, Mercury, where we meet the world, if you will, the edges of our hand, traveling all the way into the thumbs, which is what we use to connect and construct and manipulate whatever we need to get our needs met, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
what you got, and what's really fun about this is our thumbs is the highest, activation. It's like this is our will. So our ability to impose our will on the world is measured by our
Mhm.
thumbs. Our
Mhm.
ability to communicate or receive communication from the world is our little finger. Then
Uh-huh.
ring finger, this is the place where we are meant to shine. This is ruled by Apollo, okay, or Mars. This is where we share our gifts. Interesting that our ring finger is the one that runs most closely by
Mm.
heart, right?
Yes.
Our
Yeah.
heartfelt desires to share our gifts and be seen, right?
Yeah.
The middle finger on the hand, look at this, your middle finger, you've got 2 fingers on either side. This is all about integrity and responsibility, because again, it's that like the axis pole on the globe, right?
Yeah.
And then finally, we've got our pointer fingers, which again, when you've got your highest ranking prints on these guys right here, this is like the starter pistol for the high achiever. In fact, it's called the big shot. Literally. Like,
all right.
Well, yes. And guess where your highest ranking print is, darling? Your
Big
highest
dummies?
ranking
Okay.
print is on both thumbs, not just one, you overachiever, you. Yeah, you had to have it means that you not only have the highest ranking print, which is that visionary leader, but it's also in that place of being able to impose your will on what you intuitively, it's like, oh, okay, I take this information in, I instinctively act. And it's like, you tend to be successful at almost anything you try. All right. And so then it becomes about, where do you find sustainability, that long-term fire, right? That keeps you lit. And it's important for fire people, wherever the element is, whether it's in your palm, whether it's in your chart, you want to wait for the invitation to be seen. Okay. Rather than throwing pearls before swine, you want to make sure that people are asking for the light. Okay. And then for you,
they'll be annoyed.
The success is guaranteed. Whereas if you've got the highest ranking print on this with the left hand, which is more of that receptive, and it's the global, it's the ability to process things that are coming from a 360-degree angle. Okay. The left hand takes in all of the information, and the right hand is then applying it specifically, screening out the details and focusing on the task. Okay. So that left hand, that left hand is come here. This is if your highest ranking print is here, you have the ability to draw things to you as if by magic. Whereas if you have that highest ranking print over here in the pointer finger, you have the ability to direct things. It's like, go here, or make this happen. It's like a magic wand, right? And interestingly enough, on this middle finger, which your lowest ranking print, so your blind spot is here on the middle fingers.
All right, let's have it. What is it?
Well, the hard part about that is, where is the integrity and the responsibility in whatever you're creating? Okay, so it's like very often people with their lowest ranking print here, excuse the expression, they kind of get screwed. And it's like they're the last one standing. They're sitting there being responsible while the people around them are not. Now, occasionally, you know what? Everybody who's got their lowest ranking print here has got one or two areas where they themselves are not being responsible. But more often than not, my experience has been where other people are not doing enough. They're not showing up. They're not carrying their load. Okay. And so that's the tricky part with that.
That's interesting. That's another thing that I've just really come into awareness of recently. I've been thinking about needing to hire somebody. And I have found that through nobody's fault of their own, when I've had arrangement, nobody's fault. I never felt truly screwed over necessarily with anything. It's not like that at all. It's just, there's a dynamic that tends to show up where, when it comes to, especially when it comes to business arrangements or, partnerships or trades, that's something that this can show up in a lot. It's where at the end of the day, it feels like that wasn't quite fair, or that didn't quite turn out not in every situation, but I have noticed that show up enough times where I've seen the pattern, and it's something that I've been looking at going, oh, there's something I'm not seeing, something to address there.
Yeah.
Blind spot.
And the interesting thing is, because you've got fire and air there, part of the challenge.
Oh, I've got an air print?
Well, yeah, you've got
an air print.
No. I'm sorry. You've got a combination of fire and water. My apologies.
Combination. Oh, okay.
Combination. This is the place where you can you have to give yourself and them time, because fire is operating ahead of, it's that visionary leader. So it's like it can be out in front. And what I mean by that is you can already see where it's going. And so there's a part of you that can judge the gap between where it is now and where you see it going.
Yeah.
And part of that is so that you inspire a better behavior in the other person, as opposed to criticizing or making them wrong. It's like, I would like to be met more equally here.
Oh, I like that.
And then
Yes.
give them time to meet you there. And this is how you use your blind spot and tool to inspire, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I love that. That resonates really deeply too. So it's like, if I was going to sum this up, what you just talked about, using my prince as an example, my genius is fire, which would be described as intuitive, visionary, driving forward, kind of forging new paths. Would that be right?
Correct.
Okay. My blind spot is I have to be aware of responsibility and integrity. One way or the other, it doesn't always shake out evenly there. Whether it's me holding the bag or whether it's me not noticing where I'm not taking or refusing to take responsibility for things, right?
Right.
Okay. And the school to make my way from shadow to that visionary in integrity is about leading the charge and developing patience and compassion to inspire others to catch up, instead of getting myself in a tizzy or judgmental or wah about not being seen or whatever the story is. Does that sum it up pretty well?
Absolutely. And it's like, it's getting to the vulnerable ask instead of a complaint or an angry outburst. And then holding the space, believing that they can meet you there, and inquiring where they need to be met.
Yeah. So it sounds like the water element is really showing up for me. It's where my shadow shows up more, in that closeness, the connection, closeness and connection with people.
It's easy for you to jump to a new place where you are seen and admired and appreciated.
That's true. And you've known me for 10 years. You know, and you know me very, very well. So
yeah. And that is an understandable coping skill that misses the stretch.
And it goes back to the beginning of our conversation where we were talking about when we're triggered, that creates a fight, flight, fawn, or freeze response, right? As much as like sometimes I fight and sometimes I flight, and my flight can be right, I'm out of here to find something that feels better at like blowing it up, right? When it comes to like a relationship or even a career or what, a way to move on by blowing it up. Right. But if we can hold the line and expand through that trigger, we move from our shadow and open up our world, become free from that. Okay. I'm getting it. Yeah.
You've done an outstanding job, and thank you for being transparent so that we can share with other people. But that's what's possible. It's a place where, again, it's uncomfortable. Most of us are uncomfortable with a vulnerable ask, and it's not appropriate of all people. But do you even know what that ask is, rather than a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn?
Okay. Yeah. Remember, for a while it was just fight or flight. Now we've got more.
They've got more.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that like I when things are not going my way, typically in relationships, I will just disappear into this fantasy land of I'm going to get on a plane. I'm going to run away. I'm going to, and most of the time I don't act on it. I've gotten very, very like much better about like, okay, let's like stay in the container and move through this experience, but totally relates. I can definitely see where that's my big blind spot. And it's so good. I love the people, or I love the the journey where we get to the place where we stop taking our nonsense personally so that we can look at this stuff and go, oh, there's a blind spot. There's some information I didn't know I didn't have. Instead of taking it personally and getting all wrapped up in shame about it, we can be like, cool, everybody's got nonsense. Here's mine. It's all mine. I can love it and I can expand through it. And you can start to get to work for you instead of pulling your tail.
Exactly. So
How are we doing on time, my love?
I was going to say, I hate to do this, but I've got a client who's actually early. Yeah.
You are in high demand, as you should be. Listen, folks, really quickly, the DIY Life Purpose Guide, $199. Lisa is giving it to us, the Mystic Bitchezz, for $49. Go get it. She will take you through this whole process and identify your prints. And then you will know what I know about myself. You'll know this about yourself. And also, if you want her to take you through it, she can do that too. You can go to her website. It is linked below in the description of the video, truthinhand.com. She does hand analysis. She does this life purpose thing. She'll do a whole coaching call with you. She is also an incredible diviner. She's a tarot card reader. She does astrology, both Western and Vedic. She has human design. There's not much this woman does not do. And she is a deeply potent coach and mentor. And if you're looking for somebody to get you through a patch, she's someone who I would highly recommend. Lisa has been my lifeline on more than one occasion over this last decade, especially as I was finding my way into my life purpose and expanding into my highest expression. I cannot recommend Lisa highly enough. I love this woman with my everything. So go check out her website, link below, get that DIY Life Purpose Guide. And if you are new to the Mystic Bitch Show, the Spotify link is linked below. Go binge it and come back next week here on Wednesday. I'll be doing another interview. I can't remember who now, but I'll look at that. And there we go. Lisa, thank you so much. Beautiful. Is there any parting words you'd like to leave us with?
I would like to say thank you for living your destiny, being the visionary leader, and helping other people find their destiny and shine. Look at how many lives you have changed just by being you. Okay.
I'll take it. Thank you, darling.
Treasure you. Grateful for our friendship and look forward to the rest of our lives.
Wonderful. Me too. Thanks, Lisa. Thank you, everybody.
Everybody.
Goodbye now.